Who would you love to see Claressa Shields fight? Because I know you got a good relationship with her. Muhammad Ali's daughter?
No.
That fight is too outdated. That fight's too outdated.
Leave Laila alone. Leave Laila alone. Laila paved the way for Claressa to become who she is today.
It's a little different when somebody of Terrence Crawford's stature is reining in Claressa Shields and her expressed interest in fighting a 48-year-old Laila Ali that hasn't boxed in close to 20 years, because you can't accuse him of being envious.
He's not a hater.
Not a regular detractor of Claressa's, like I am when he tells you to back off. She is one of the trailblazers that opened doors for young fighters like you.
She should have a little bit more reverence for that. Now, I don't know that Claressa Shields ever really expected to get Laila in the ring, because when all of this started 6 or 7 years ago, Laila had long been retired from the sport of boxing, was already up there in age, and I would sooner expect that this was more for the optics than an actual fight, because an actual fight was never likely to happen, not even 6 or 7 years ago. So all these years later,
and the whole bit about the $15 million offer, the $15 million novelty check, I should say, that looked like something from the publisher's clearinghouse, deliberately misconstruing what Laila said. She said it would take $15 million to even consider coming out of retirement. Consider it. It was never a guarantee. It was never a lock. I've always looked at it as a deliberate attempt to make somebody look bad, not dissimilar from what she does to Keith Thurman or Rolly Romero when she threatens to box them knowing they're not going to entertain her, they're not going to indulge her, and neither was Laila.
when she threatens to knock out Jake Paul.
Because Jake Paul is going to box you? Because this is actually going to happen? You know that it isn't. So, if you know that it isn't, what is it you aspire to gain in doing so? And you just want to make them look bad.
That's it.
I'd call it a form of bullying. Going at people that aren't necessarily at liberty to get back at you. Because what fighter in their prime goes after a near 50-year-old fighter that hasn't boxed in close to 2 decades? Who does that?
Because of some perceived disrespect.
That Tszyu in the morning asked her, is there any chance that she might come out of retirement? And she said no, because she doesn't feel inspired to, by anybody who was out there.
How the fuck is that disrespectful to Claressa? What were you expecting, for Laila Ali to grovel at your feet, you, who only had a handful of fights at the time?
I think she's got a personality disorder. I think that mental illness runs in her family. That's the word on the street.
Something ain't right with that broad.
No way.
So that's an MVP fight that the women's organization is off and running. Last time we spoke, you told me you spoke to them a little bit. How do you feel about how they're doing, about the product that they're putting on, the events focused on women's boxing?
I don't care. Win records over here.
No,
MVP is the op of me. I'm not in support for them. I support the girls, but I don't care about MVP, and they know that.
Can you give us your side of what happened with Alicia at their event?
I don't know who that is.
But there was an incident, right?
I just hate when girls run their mouth. That's it.
And so what happened? Can you tell us?
I don't think that, Ariel, you have a phone, you have everything. And once again, I don't know who that is, but we talking about August 15th, State Farm Arena.
Okay.
And really, and I want to say something, I know that you bring up people. If a girl doesn't weigh 154 or above, I don't think that nobody who does interviews with me should ask me about girls who are at lower weight classes who are not willing to come to at least 154 for a fight. So that's my way of just avoiding that whole conversation and narrative, because I'm 5-time division world champion. I fought.
Once again, this is all over something that she started. Because all this talk about Claressa Shields fighting Alicia Baumgartner starts with Claressa, not Alicia. It starts with Claressa saying she'd be willing to move down to welter to fight the girls that are there.
She'd been doing that for a while.
It wasn't an isolated incident. On a number of occasions, she said she'd be willing to drop down to welter to fight the girls that are there. Except this time, Alicia Baumgartner said that she would meet her. So why is that such a big deal?
I think it's because Claressa didn't expect anybody to say anything. For the longest time, nobody did, until Alicia stepped up.
Sort of calling her bluff. So what if Claressa Shields never actually could get down that low? Down to welter. But she carries on like she can, not expecting anybody to say something. If somebody actually does, well, she's gonna feel fucking stupid.
Oh, now she's saying that if you don't fight at 154, don't even look in her direction.
But you're the one that was talking about dropping down to 147. It's another situation created by her so she can later act like It's just people coming at her at random.
MVP is the ops.
But she supposedly supports the girls.
Where I remember, she once randomly took a shot at the entire stable.
And it wasn't even that long ago either. Should it have to be Terrence Crawford that reins her in, telling her that you shouldn't be targeting a fighter close to 50 years old, 2 decades removed from the sport? It's the equivalent of Jaron Ennis calling out Fernando Vargas or Oscar De La Hoya. If he did that, people would look at the guy and say, what the hell is wrong with him?
So what the hell is wrong with her?
It's like I said, I suspect a mental illness of some kind of a personality disorder, something. Because if it were anybody else doing that...
They give her a pass to act like a jackass because of how supposedly great she is.
But now, exiting the boxing space and attempting to branch out to the hip-hop space, she's finding out. Adulation is not a given. It's something you earn. There's not a certain number of belts you win to where you're guaranteed fandom, and people have to grovel at your feet. There's not a certain number of gold medals, not a set number of accolades. Endearing yourself to the general public.
It's not something that you're owed.
They either take a fondness to you, or they don't. And given her personality, which is more semblant of a bear trap, it's no surprise she's fast become a social pariah.
Speaking of social pariahs, Ryan Garcia once again took a shot at Terrence Crawford, saying Errol Spence may have a better resume than Crawford, which is kind of nuts cause he lost to him. But if you look closely, you can see it's the truth.
So let's look closely, as Ryan instructs us to. What win on Errol Spence Jr.'s resume is the same or better than Terrence's win over Canelo? I'd say the win over Canelo is much bigger than the win over Errol.
Many times.
Who did Errol beat that was supposed to be the same or better? Kell Brook off the loss to Gennady Golovkin? Sean Porter, who had already lost to Kell Brook and Keith Thurman?
Sean Porter, who Terrence Crawford later knocked out.
Who's supposed to be better? Danny Garcia, who had lost to Sean Porter, lost to Keith Thurman.
He ducked Terrence in 2019. They offered him the fight. He turned it down.
Ugas? Your Dennis Ugas? Is he supposed to be the crown jewel of Errol Spence Jr.'s resume? I think Terrence Crawford fought much better fighters than Ugas. I don't even have to bring up Canelo.
Like who?
Victor Postol, unbeaten WBC super lightweight champion at the time, who took Danny Garcia's lunch money. Remember, Postol was his mandatory first. Danny paid him step-aside money to leave him alone because Danny didn't want to fight him. Gee, I wonder why.
I'm not seeing how Errol's resume is supposed to be better than Terrence's.
Maybe it's because it's not. Maybe it's because it's just another stupid thing Ryan Garcia said because Ryan Garcia's stupid.
Fucking stupid.
What Ryan seems to hold against Terrence Crawford is his claim that Terrence never beat anybody who was young, fresh, and all in their prime.
But isn't Errol younger than Terrence?
Sure is. So's Canelo. Canelo's about 2 years younger than Terrence. Terrence was the older fighter in those fights. So what's Ryan Garcia talking about?
Bunch of nothing.
Arguing with Ryan Garcia about something like this would be tantamount to arguing about politics with the hobo outside of the 7-Eleven, the wino, the junkie, the crackhead.
You normally wouldn't because of how ridiculous it is.
Because from a distance, arguing with fools, people won't be able to tell who is who, thus arguing with Ryan, who's never going to achieve half the things that Terrence achieved. It's lunacy.
Ryan is in no position to criticize anything or anyone on Terrence Crawford's resume. Not even Victor Postol. Not even Julius Ndongo.
Motherfucker, you lost to Rolly.
Fucking Rolly.
Are you joking? You better pay attention to Conor Ben. You better take that fight seriously because what I see you doing is streams with Neon, streams with Gorlock.
Isn't he supposed to be in camp?
I don't know. Maybe the training camp hasn't started yet. The fight's in September and August has yet to get here. So maybe when it does, he'll start taking the fight more seriously. But it's not a fight that he can afford to lose. Not at this point.
Got 2 losses already.
You want to make it 3? You want to lose that green and gold title so soon after having won it? This lack of situational awareness with Ryan Garcia is indicative of this younger generation that say things just to get reactions, just to be seen, no matter how ridiculous what they're doing or what they're saying is.
Like whenever one of these thin-skinned kids takes to their own social media, their little TikTok accounts, pointing a camera at their face to film themselves crying.
Aw, did you start bawling before or after you hit the record button?
It's just to get reactions. repercussions.
Remember that this younger generation is a generation that grew up with the internet, more specifically the algorithm, as a member of the family. Ever present in the lives of this younger generation that do most of what they do under the impression that everybody is watching.
Because everybody is after they upload this stuff to that algorithm.
They say that you are who you really are, under the skin, underneath, based on what you do when nobody's looking.
That's what they say.
But who are you when you do most of what you do as if everybody is looking? Who are you then?
A dickhead.
A fucking jackass like Ryan Garcia, because when I look at him, that's all I see. A fucking jackass. A whitewashed Jono Sabo who wants to be a looks-maxer.
What, like that clavicle kid?
I think his name is Clavicular or Clandestine or Ku Klux Klan.
Clam chowder.
Ryan is what us millennials would have called a douchebag.
D-bag.
I don't take anything he says about Terrence Crawford seriously, any criticisms he might levy towards his career or his resume, because look at Ryan's career. It doesn't really need to be said. I'm just filling the space in between the last segment and the next one, because Ryan is easy prey.
You could sit here for hours talking about how ridiculous he is.
Rolly beat you up and you went to go cry in the car. Literally, crying in the car, crying in the ambulance. That's you.
You're a bitch, Ryan.
Fucking bitch. You ought to be ashamed of yourself that a fucking Brit, speaks what's supposed to be your native language better than you do.
That doesn't bother you?
It should, but I guess that's what accents that gross lack of situational awareness consistent with this younger generation. You don't really know how cringeworthy you are.
I can only imagine how these things appear to Ryan in Ryan's own mind. These things that he does.
Things that he says. When anybody who knows anything about this sport knows, you're just lucky that Terrence Crawford didn't take special time out to get his hands on you, because if he did, there would be absolutely nothing.
Nada.
Nothing that you could do about it.
You lost to Rolly and then went to cry in the car. What a fucking bitch. Shit. Focus on Connor, you fucking Jono Sabo.
Elsewhere in the world of boxing, drug test revelation emerges from Tszyu vs. Spence pay-per-view, what we talked about right before the fight, that according to Tszyu, no anti-doping testing organization was contracted for the bout. Speaking to the Australian media right before facing Spence, Tszyu was asked whether the Americans' lengthy absence from the sport raised any concerns about their showdown. The former WBO super welterweight champion admitted he was surprised no testing had taken place. They should be drug testing, and I haven't been drug tested either, Tszyu said.
What are you surprised about? If you wanted to be tested by VADA or some other anti-doping agency, then you would have hired them.
Despite being the one that raised the issue, Tszyu immediately stressed he was not accusing Spence of any wrongdoing.
Then what are you doing? Because if you wanted anti-doping testing for your fight, then you would have paid for it. Like Devin pays for it, like a lot of other fighters do.
I'm not worried about either fighter having used performance-enhancing drugs for their fight, because God forbid that they did. If that's the performance you turned in on PEDs, I would hate to see what you look like off of them.
I'm not worried about PEDs in boxing because the boxers themselves aren't worried about it. Otherwise, Tim would have hired VADA or something. Or was he waiting for Errol to do it?
I'm not going to accuse him. I don't know. But yeah, I wasn't drug tested. The revelation came before one of the biggest non-title fights of the year, featuring two former world champions. Spence had not fought for 3 years following his defeat to Terrence Crawford, and later requested the contest be moved from the agreed weight to 160 during fight week. Once the opening bell rang, none of it mattered. Tszyu largely dominated the contest before forcing Spence's retirement, ending the former unified welterweight champion's career in emphatic fashion.
This was a non-title bout, so you can't expect any clean boxing program or fair boxing program to be involved, and it would have relied upon the fighters themselves, Tim or Errol, to contract VADA to make that request. So really, there's nothing for Tim to be surprised about. I almost think he was putting on for the cameras.
Pretending to be surprised when he would have known beforehand. There's no anti-doping testing. The fact Tszyu voiced those concerns before the opening bell should be enough. They were only heightened when Spence requested to increase the weight to 160 during fight week. In the end, end, the result made the issue academic. Even so, the episode serves as a reminder for the sport going forward. Marquee fights attracting worldwide attention shouldn't slip through the cracks simply because no title was on the line.
It didn't slip through the cracks. They just didn't want to get tested. You can make of that what you will, but it speaks to what I tell you guys all the time. If the sport of boxing really wanted anti-doping testing to be standard and uniform, then they would pay for it, because somebody has to. The shit ain't free.
The boxers know that, the managers know that, the promoters know that, the fans know that. By now they do. You get what you pay for, so if you don't pay for it, you don't get it.
You don't want it. Not really.
I think it's because the people in the industry, on the business side of it, wish to appear like they've got a conscience. Like they've been doing their part to make the sport cleaner and safer for everyone. When in all actuality, the industry doesn't want it.
Said it before and I'll say it again. Do you know how much it would cost these promoters to have anti-doping testing for every single card and every fighter on a show? The operational costs to do it would shoot up astronomically to the point where doing a show isn't even worth it.
It costs thousands upon thousands of dollars to have those samples collected and sent out and tested by a WADA accredited lab. Thousands upon thousands of dollars.
Imagine having to do that for every fighter on a card. You're gonna bankrupt yourself. That's what you're gonna do. It's gonna be near impossible to turn over a profit. So the promoters, they're not gonna do that on their own. The fighters,
they don't want to pay out of pocket. A lot of them don't want to pay extra to have that protocol because it's coming right out of their purses, the sanctioning bodies.
They're not gonna pay for it either.
Do you think the WBC, for every fight that they sanction, is gonna put up the thousands upon thousands of dollars it costs to have these fighters tested? Of course not, because they would bankrupt themselves. So the truth is, if anti-doping testing isn't standard for every boxing match and uniform across the board, for the men, for the women, it's because the industry doesn't want it to be. It's a logistical issue. Who's gonna pay for this?
Because somebody has to.
The testing that you see, that you've been seeing, is sporadic. It's here and there, and it's really only the fighters who can afford to have that kind of testing done.
But it's not uniform. It's not all the time.
So when Tszyu sits there and says he's surprised there wasn't any testing, what the fuck is he surprised about? You're the one that was supposed to hire him, you or Errol, but it was your people at the helm of that promotion. So if what you wanted was testing, what you would have got was testing.
No Limit Promotions would have seen it done. It was more of a No Limit Promotions show than a PBC show because it was in Australia. You saw how many Aussie fighters were on there.
So who'd you think was supposed to pay for the testing, Errol? It was your people that paid him.
Playing dumb.
I think a lot of people in the industry are, and I'm okay with that. I'm not going to raise a stink about the use of banned substances in boxing anymore because the fighters don't. They's the ones taking the punches. I'm just watching them. If they ain't worried about it, then why should I?
Why should I care?